E3 is an exciting time for games. New games are debuted, most of which will be released in the coming year, with some exceptions of course. It's a high-stress situation, being up on stage in front of thousands of the press, and nowadays, hundreds of thousands streaming at home. It's no surprise that the developers would like to control the environment as much as possible so that weird glitches don't take place. At times, though, the game on display is merely a facade. Sometimes the games simply aren't quite to the quality that they hope to achieve in the full game, while other times the game is simply difficult to demo for one reason or another. So special demos are made especially for the event, and sometimes those games really aren't games. Now, this is more likely to happen at events where the game isn't going to be playable by the press. If they show a demo and then they say the press can go and play it, most of the time what they're playing is legit, although that's with the added possibility of God mode and a few other safeguards that are in place to basically ensure that it goes well. It is the early gameplay demos that are the most interesting though, as no one but the developer will be playing them, so really they can script things to go however they want them to go. Take for instance the first public gameplay demo of Ghost Recon Future Soldier. The game was revealed at E3 2010 with some help from Joel McHale. This was the big unveiling of the game after rumors built following Ubisoft registering a trademark for Future Soldier in December 2009. The press had been shown the game, but not much had really been seen. The game was scheduled for a late 2010 release before being moved to a March 2011 release shortly before E3, so one would have to imagine that the development was moving along. But let's break down the magic behind the E3 2010 showing of Ghost Recon Future Soldier and see what was really going on. So I'm going to start by playing the Ghost Recon E3 build, basically more or less how the developers played it. I'll fill in some of the blanks to show that not everything is quite how they showed it.
Первый снайпер занял позицию. На пляже все тихо.
All of that was completely automated. It's at this point that I'm first gaining control of my character.
We have intel on possible tangos. We're gonna provide overwatch.
At this point, the game is expecting me to run to the boat. If I don't do that, basically nothing else will happen because this is our first trigger point for the satellite uplink. Now, of course, the satellite will find everybody no matter where I look, so I let it do its thing. Next, the game waits for me to target our person of interest. We wait for them to do their thing.
Change of plans. We're taking this guy. Alive this time, 30. Understood. Moving. Kozak, clear the path.
If I had tried to shoot that guy from a different point or earlier on,
200 feet.
he would just sit there and look at me, like this.
Kozak, clear the path. We're taking this guy. Alive this time, 30. Understood. Moving. Tango down, moving on your right. 50 cal in sight. Kozak, take him. Roger. Heads up, we got thermals.
Even though it will say hit A for close attack, I don't have to hit anything. The game will do exactly what it wants to do. This helps eliminate some of the error that could occur during a gameplay demo like this.
We're clear. POI at 200 feet. Hey, I got 3 tangos. Hold your fire. Stand by.
Первый вертолет пусту. Сатовская колонна приближается. Ожидаем сильное сопротивление. Будем у вас через 6 минут.
Right now, I'm just following what the E3 demonstration showed. I don't have to sit behind this cover, which I'll show you in just a little bit.
On it.
As with earlier, I don't have to hit anything if I don't want to, and this scene will still play out exactly the same way every single time.
DOI at 50 feet.
So let's pause here and take a step back. What would have happened if I did not go the way that it expects me to go? Let's take a look.
DOI at 200 feet.
If I stand in a position that the game doesn't expect, we can see that the soldier is just kind of standing in the sand. Pretty cool. Let's head back to the stairs at the beginning of the game. Really, the game has no idea how to handle this. In fact, the stairs don't even really work right. As you can see, I just run right over the clear gaps. Nothing happens. If I try to take out the enemy soldier before the game is close enough, again, nothing happens. Should get used to that, because it happens a lot. Now, of course, when I get close, it does its thing, just like I said it would.
DOI at 50 feet.
Let's head back to the beginning of the demo one more time. Now, instead of heading to the left, we're going to go forward and we'll see just how the level has been put together for this E3 demo.
Gonna provide overwatch.
As I'm running forward, you should see that many of the spawns just haven't happened. Those soldiers, they're not there at all. As I keep walking, you'll see that the lighting actually changes. But first, let's shoot this guy in the face a few times. Alright, we're moving again. The lighting is about to change. And there it goes! The lighting has changed. This is because later on in the demo, we jump forward in time just a little bit. So you'd expect the lighting to change. Instead of changing the map to a brand new map, which would have had loading times, they simply lit this part of the map differently, which cuts back on those loading times, but still looks like time has changed. Unfortunately, because none of the other map objectives have loaded, nothing happens. So I'm going to show you what happens when we go to an area completely out of bounds, which the game does not expect. First, the lighting switches back, and then we fall through the floor. Let's go back to our proper playthrough.
Take the one on the left.
As you can imagine, the game wants me to go to another point. If I try to interact with any of the other enemies, nothing happens. As I get to the proper position, my guys will begin to target the enemies, and then we just have to walk up and do what we have to do. And of course, all of this is automated.
3, 2, 1. Nice job. Got company.
Before we check out the rest of the demo, let's check out what would have happened if I did not go to the proper positions. As you can see, absolutely nothing. Let's move on to the next section of the demo. This section would have us sniping out some guys, and of course, a lot of it is automated.
Hey, they got a ground drone.
Right now, the game is expecting me to target both the helicopter and that vehicle thing that it's carrying. Once I do that, I wait for this countdown, and then they want me to pull the trigger. In reality, the game will give me all the chances that I need to make sure this happens.
3, 2, 1. Mark. Nicely done.
From here, it's just a countdown until it lets me move on to the next segment. I can shoot at whoever I want, whether it's the proper guys or not, and sometimes things happen, sometimes not so much. And now we move on to our next and last segment of this E3 2010 demo. Jumping over the wall is a required step to trigger the next part of the scene. If you don't do that, things don't happen, which, of course, I'll show you in just a little bit. Instead of going up and over the wall, I'm going to go a different way. Here you can see the lighting does change, which confirms my hypothesis from earlier. Now I'm just going to go around shooting guys. The next scenes aren't going to trigger, and when they actually do, when I go back, they don't trigger properly, so I can't complete the E3 demo. I've gone back to the wall, so the game is still going to trigger exactly what I wanted to trigger before. You can see the enemies just spawning from nowhere, but instead of the vehicle spawning like it's supposed to, things just don't work. Let's go ahead and finish the fight how it was supposed to be finished. So as you can see, Ghost Recon's E3 demo, while certainly live, was a bit of a lie. Now, that isn't to fault Ubisoft, as every single company does this to some extent. Bungie famously admitted it for the early Halo footage, and I even showed a demo of the cancelled BC that had the same sort of tricks. It also doesn't mean that this was all Ubisoft had done either. Ubisoft had other prototypes working in the studio, but they were not polished enough to show at E3 2010, or perhaps they didn't quite meet their expectations. Whatever the case may be, they did have more game to show, even if they didn't want to. I have a feeling that the build you're seeing now is a build that was shown to the press before E3 2010, but unfortunately I have no way of really confirming that. This build, like the build seen at E3, was not playable by the press. At some point I'll show a bit more of these early builds, but I want to continue on with this E3 2010 build. Following E3, the game received a lukewarm reception at best, so Ghost Recon would have a bumpy road to release. Delays would push the game back into 2012, with many of the features hinted at in the E3 demo nowhere to be seen in the final product, something that dedicated fans on YouTube are quick to point out, even today. The game would be retooled, moving away from the gritty world seen in this demo and into something quite a bit different. But like I said, those other demos are for another day. I hope you've enjoyed this video that pulled back the curtain on some of that E3 magic. Hit that subscribe button and do check out some of the other great videos on the channel and of course our Patreon campaign. Until next time, thanks for watching.